Hi you guys. Today I'm going to show you how to make the easiest face mask ever. Now I took the material from a pair of my son's. These used to be his favorite shorts, or at least my favorite shorts that I like to see him in. But they got, they got torn, and they got torn to the point where he couldn't even wear them anymore. So I took some material. Now I had a hard time, even though this is a lot of material. This is some large shorts here, but they also had these large pockets. So a lot of the shorts I couldn't use. A lot of the area I couldn't use because the pockets were too large and too heavy. So I had to search for a little spot, enough that where I can cut some material and make a mask that didn't have the pocket or didn't have a rip in it. So I found enough. I found these two pieces here. And so what I'm going to do, so basically making the mask, I mean, at first I didn't want to be bothered with making masks. I just wanted to buy me some masks, and I actually have an order of, I think it's an order of 50 masks coming from Amazon. I put my order in about 6 weeks ago, and I still have about a month to wait on the mask to come. And fortunately, my employer, they sent me some masks where they sent me what they had available. So I was very fortunate that way. I received some masks, and I also ordered some handmade masks from eBay, and I really like those. But I said, now that I realize how crucial this thing is, and I realize how easy it is to make masks, that now I just make my own, and I know how to make masks several different ways. They're all very easy, require no sewing. I actually have a sewing machine. I actually know how to sew, but who wants to be bothered with taking the sewing machine down, setting it up, just to make a few masks? And plus, it was just something I didn't want to be bothered with anyway. So anyway, I have my material here. I have my fabric, my two pieces I have together, and so basically, like if you're like me, if you have a pretty round, full face, you want a relatively large mask. And especially, I don't like my mask to be too snug on my face. We're here in Texas, it's hot. I don't want, to feel like closed in and suffocating underneath my mask. And plus, I like to use some light fabric when I make my mask. And this is what I like about my son's shorts here. The fabric is very light, and so I like to make my mask about on the large side. So I'll say about 8 inches, and this is about 8 inches of fabric here. And what I'm going to do, I got my two pieces of fabric here. It's a little torn on this side, but that's okay. I'm just going to fold it over, and you're just going to cut some holes in it. So basically what you're doing, instead of sewing, you're just cutting holes into your fabric so you can weave in your straps for your ears. That's basically how a lot of no-sew masks are made, where you have like many different methods that you can use that don't require a sewing machine, don't require a lot of hand sewing. And you want to make the holes for your ear loops very small as possible, because if you make them large, you destroy the integrity of the fabric, and it makes your mask more flimsy. So you want your mask to be as sturdy as possible. Your hole is shaped. So you don't want this hole to be very big. You're just making slithers. So keep in mind the fabric is folded over. So every cut is going to be twice as long when you unfold the fabric. I like to do a lot of holes. Okay. So now, and you also, as far for your ear, for your ear loops, I like the T-shirt method. I have lots of headbands and rubber bands and all type of things that I can use at different times. I was using at the beginning, but currently I find the soft T-shirt to be the most comfortable behind my ears. And and the great thing about it, I mean, if one T-shirt will give you, oh, I don't know, 20 ear hoops. And since this material with my son's shorts, the material is pretty flimsy, so I'm gonna go ahead and thread my holes right away. Other material that a more sturdy material, I would usually cut both sides first, but I don't want to risk my holes not being lined up, so I'm gonna do that now. And they're pretty small. Mine might be too small to get in here. But the smaller it is, the better that it protects your fabric from being stretched too thin and further ripping apart. So you want to cut your holes for your, what do you call this here? Your, your little ear strips. We'll call it that. Your ear strips here. So you want to make the holes as small as you can, and then you want to go ahead and weave it in there. And this is basically the most difficult part of making a mask. And it's not even difficult, it's just a little tedious. And some people, I mean, you can get away with less holes than this. I've seen some videos where, it's just about 5 or 6 holes. But this mask here is going to be rather big. It's going to be on the large side. And the smaller the holes, the closer the holes are, it just makes the mask take its form a little better too. Now this hole here, oh my goodness, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get it in there. And this fabric that I'm using, it cuts very easily. So you can easily go from a hole being too small to too big if you're not careful. Okay, I'm almost finished, you guys. And I know it's strange that, first we lived in a world where, no one covered their face, and there was no need for us to cover our faces. And now, most places throughout the country, you're required to wear a mask. And some places they're enforcing it, and other places they're not really enforcing it that much. And I think it's become an issue of politeness now. I mean, if you walk into a store, and I've done it, I've seen it, many different times already, where I walk into um, a department store, and all the employees are wearing masks, and most of um, the shoppers, they're wearing masks as well. And then you see someone come in with no mask. Okay, do we all need to wear a mask? Or, is it necessary that we wear a mask? Is it necessary that anyone wear a mask? Or do we not have to wear masks? And I understand, that they don't want to, haul us off to jail for not wearing a mask. But I think it's a thing of, the medical people say we need to wear masks. So basically, as a country, that's what we have to rely on is the medical people and our government. And they say wear masks. So whether we need to or not, I feel like when you walk into an establishment and everyone's wearing a mask but you, that's, you know, it's not so much a medical issue because I don't know if this is actually medically necessary or not. And maybe if I had someone to get sick in my family, or if I knew someone personally that died from the cor the coronavirus, you know, maybe I'd be more of an advocate for saying, you must wear your mask, you must wear your mask. But to me, it's like it's just kind of rude, you know, whether you need to wear your mask or I need to wear my mask, or if everyone needs to wear their mask. If you walk into an establishment and everyone is wearing a mask, or all the employees are wearing a mask, and most of the customers are wearing masks, then, I think it's just kind of rude because it's like everyone else has gone through the trouble of buying masks and making masks and wearing them and actually wearing it, because it's a different experience to walk around during the day with a mask on versus not having one, you know. And so germs and things, yeah, that's things that we can't see. And the medical establishment says that we need to wear masks to protect ourselves and to protect ourselves from infecting other people. So I also think, whether you believe that or not, we're supposed to be obeying the regulations, and also, but I think it's more of a thing of just being respectful of other people. Other people have gone through the trouble of buying and making masks and wearing these things. Whether they bought them or made them or someone gave them to them. It's different to walk around, especially in here in Texas. It's already hot. That's why I'm very particular about the fabric that I use when I make my mask. Because the first batch of masks that I made, I wasn't very mindful of the fabric. I was just using whatever I had around, whatever I could find at the thrift store, and my first real batch was like some baby clothes. But then I realized that the fabric was kind of heavy for summertime here in Texas, and for breathing too, because sometimes, in fact, I'm gonna do another video. I'm gonna do another video on making a mask with a filter, and with that, and this is just things that you can use around the house. If you have a pair of scissors, some old t-shirts, or old piece of fabric, and you can use any type of fabric, but you just want to be mindful of how hot it's going to get in your area. And I almost got this other ear string. I'm almost finished weaving the last one. Yeah, I was very careful not to make my holes too big, and I ended up making several of them too small, but which is better because you can always stretch it later. It just helps your mask last longer when you haven't cut into it too much. Okay, I finally have both sides threaded. That was my mistake because I was having trouble weaving my ear. But okay, here we go. So stretch it out. Okay, and I like to. At first, I was like doing the square knot, but with fabric, the square knot tend to have a little slip to it. It might might unlock. So I just from watching other videos, other YouTube videos, I just realized that most people were just doing what they do here. They're just taking the fabric, both ends together, you wrap it into a knot. And I've found this to be more secure than the slip knot. Let me see, this one might be too, don't want it to be too long where it's falling off your ear. Don't want it to be too short where it's uncomfortable either. I think this is still a little too long. Okay, now cut off the excess. And here you have it. It's light, comfortable behind the ears. And what I like to do, and I've seen other YouTubers do it, if you want to hide the knot, you can kind of just move it around where the knot would be behind the mask. But here you go. It's two pieces of fabric, a pair of scissors, an old t-shirt, so you have something soft and comfortable to fit behind your ears. And when you cut your t-shirt for your ear loops, make sure you cut about 1.5 inches, because if you cut it too thin, it's going to be too weak. And here we use an old pair of shorts. It wasn't the best fabric choice, because I didn't have a lot of room to choose from. But it was a pair of my favorite pair that I like to see my son in. So I didn't want to throw them away without making some use of some of the fabric. And here you go. Thanks for watching.